It was a peaceful day. I was farming the magma blade like I was a gambling addict, waiting for my one and only dopamine hit. And suddenly, I have realized I don't know what weapon I'm gonna use for the DLC. After pondering about it for a few seconds, I have come to the conclusion that I will be using the Claymore, a sword that has been with me ever since Dark Souls 1. If there ever is a point where I am unsure what weapon I should be using, like today, the Claymore is always my number one option, regardless of which game we're talking about. And you know what? That got me thinking. Just how quickly can I put my hands on this beauty? Let's find out. In Demon Souls, obtaining the Claymore is relatively simple. You just have to beat the Phalanx boss and trade with the Drangling Merchant. And so, to do this the fastest way possible, I picked the Royalty class. I think we all can agree magic is insanely good in Demon Souls. In the tutorial area, I just ran past everything and tried getting myself killed by the Vanguard Demon as fast as possible. Going into the Gates of Boletaria, the plan was very much straightforward. Kill everything that seems to pose danger, and ignore everything else. I did pick up a few items along the way, namely the fire bombs for the boss and the soul items. The Claymore is somewhat expensive, sitting at a cost of 6,000 souls. In order to get this sum rather quickly, I also made sure to kill the Red Knight. Seriously, just let gravity take care of this guy. It works every single time. After this, just keep going through the castle, attend the Rolling Stones concert, run across the Dragon Bridge, and that's about it. You get to the boss, you give him a good spanking, and you're pretty much done. All that's left to do is getting to the merchant. This would be quite easy, if not for the dogs that are guarding him. I admit, I did get very greedy here. I run back to my body and take a 30-second detour to pick up the Blue Knight armor, in case I get jumped again. At least I will take less damage in that case. Thankfully, that wasn't the situation, and now I can pick up my reward. Just look at that massive beauty. Anyway, Demon Souls, unlike the other Souls games, doesn't track how much time you spent in the game with a certain character. But my recording from start to finish was 24 minutes and 50 seconds. I would say that's a pretty good time. Being able to acquire this weapon within half an hour certainly is a good feeling. I know that at this point you don't have the stats for it just yet, but that is something you can work towards rather easily. Dark Souls 1 is gonna be a bit different. You don't have to buy it from anywhere. Instead, you just simply pick it up. That's it. No fuss, no muss. My starting class this time around was the Warrior. It has balanced strength and dexterity, which works perfectly for me. My favorite thing in Dark Souls 1 besides Guinevere is a good quality build. Something the Claymore also excels at. The beginning is really simple. We get out of the cell, we make a run for it, I kill Oscar because it ends up being faster than listening to him, I kill the Asylum Demon, and we are now ready to fly over to Firelink. As soon as I get to the Undead Burg, I also kill the Undead Merchant and spend some souls on leveling up so that I can use the Uchigatana. Why exactly? I kinda just wanted the cool katana, to be honest. In the meantime, I also picked up the Gold Pine Resin, so that I can make quick work of the Taurus Demon. After getting on the bridge, I noticed the dragon does not want to attack me for some reason. So at this point I said screw it, and I rushed in to get the Claymore. The mission was a success. It also took only 11 minutes and 59 seconds, way faster than Demon Souls. Moving on to Dark Souls 2, and this one requires more work than the previous two. It is once again an item you have to buy, but getting to the NPC who sells it is a little more complicated. And so, in order to meet up with this NPC, you have to use a fragrant branch of yore to open up the path to him. To get the branch this early, you must buy it from another NPC in the Forest of the Fallen Giants. But in order to buy it, you first have to farm 12,000 souls. And remember, you need to make sure you also have another 4,300 souls required for the Claymore itself. And that will put us to a grand total of 16,300 souls. Now, that might seem like a lot for a new player, but don't worry, there are ways we can make this grind much faster. This was my strategy for it. Number 1. We pick the sorcerer class because it will make farming way easier. Number 2. We have to kill Maulin for the Tsaldora armor set. Every single piece will boost the number of souls we loot, which will then make farming much quicker. I also make sure to get the Estus shard and my Estus flask just in case. Although looking back on it, this is something I maybe should have skipped. Anyway, number 3. We have to go to the Cardinal Tower bonfire to unlock the NPC who sells the branch. Number 4. We farm the Cyclops until we reach 12,000 souls, return to the merchant, and we buy the branch. At this point, we are not gonna have any souls left. But that's okay, don't worry, it's all planned out. Number 5. We go back to Majula, we kill the blacksmith for 1700 souls, and then we also kill Bernard for another 2400 souls. And after opening the door to the Shaded Woods, we can also kill the Basilisk for another 200, giving us just about enough souls to buy the Claymore. That was quite the journey, and it took only 24 minutes and 11 seconds. I think I will have to redo this someday because I feel like there are ways to do this even faster. And this is gonna be even more true for Bloodborne. Now, I think some people might be wondering if there is a Claymore in Bloodborne in the first place. Technically speaking, no, it doesn't exist. But the Holy Moonlight Sword has the exact same moveset as the Claymore. So I guess in that sense, it does exist in Bloodborne in some way. The next question is, how do you get this weapon? See, Bloodborne has an interesting feature called Chalice Dungeons. You can find all kinds of wacky stuff in here. For example, you can get the Burial Blade super early, and that is a weapon which is normally exclusive to New Game Plus. In that case, surely you can load up a Chalice dungeon to find the Moonlight Sword as well, right? Unfortunately, that's not how it works. You can get Lost and Uncanny DLC weapons in the Chalice dungeons, but in order to acquire them, you also need the original version. In that case, all you can do is get to Ludwig as fast as possible. I think it is pretty obvious that this one is gonna take the longest, and I will admit, it took me a really long time when, in reality, it should have maybe taken 3 or 4 hours at most. But the truth is, I'm just very awful at Bloodborne. But hey, let's not tell that to anybody and let it be a secret between you and me, alright? In all seriousness, my plan was the following. I would go after Vicar Amelia as soon as possible, ideally around level 20 or 30, I don't remember what level I was, but I've done it pretty quick. After that, I would get sucked into the Hunter's Nightmare, I would grab the Beast Cutter as soon as possible, and I would just rush for Ludwig. You can guess how that worked out. It didn't. And so what I did afterwards is I kept grabbing more upgrade materials, levels, and even fire papers at some point. The problem here was that I kept trying to beat him every 5 or so levels, which made me lose a lot of time as a result. If I simply played through the game normally, I think I would have done all of this much quicker. But anyway, all in all, it took me 9 hours, 9 minutes and 17 seconds. But I promise I will try to do this run again sometime in the near future, and I guarantee you I will get it below 4 hours. At the very least I will try to. Here comes the time for Dark Souls 3, and let me tell you, DS3 makes up for how long Bloodborne took. First and foremost, obtaining the Claymore here is reminiscent to Dark Souls 1. You pick it up from a bridge that is being roasted by a dragon, but it is much quicker. So, you create your character, and because it is Dark Souls 3 you can run past everything rather easily. You kill Gundyr, you teleport to the high wall and you just run to the Claymore and pick it up. That's it. It is the easiest route out of every single title, and by the way, it took only 4 minutes and 50 seconds. I would say that was pretty good. But the real question is, how does it measure up against Elden Ring? After all, you have a horse, so it must be faster, right? I have to say, I like how in this game the sword is locked away in a shiny chest. Gotta appreciate FromSoft putting some real value on this thing. Anyway, we start off at the chapel, as always. We jump off to our deaths right away. We get rescued by Melina, we get out of the cave, we bask in the glory of Flamegrave once again, and from here on out, we just have to get to Melina as quickly as possible so that she can give us the horsey. Afterwards, we engage in the exciting gameplay of open world games, and we keep on sprinting to Castle Morn. Once we are here, all that is left to do is just keep hugging the wall to the right. Enter this room and there you go. Here's your Claymore. 9 minutes and 18 seconds. To be fair, 99% of this was just traversal. But yes, all things considered, it was pretty fast. So, that about wraps it up, and I gotta admit, I had a ton of fun doing this. I might do something like this again in the near future for a different item perhaps. But for now, I just want to say thank you for watching, I hope you have a fantastic day ahead of you, and I will see you again soon. Take care everybody.